Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to talk about Carol's return and I guess more specifically her reaction in season 2 to the variant walkers, because it's going to be something that obviously most of us are going to be excited about. There's no way they're going to be holding off on the variant walkers for like all of season 2 kind of thing. Like they're going to give us that obviously, I think every season from now on, because if they don't, I feel like it's going to make the season just a little bit weaker. I know that could be ridiculous to say, but I don't know, like the variant walker aspect to the first season here is what made this first season really amazing, or at least was a big contributing factor, because if you sort of ignore a lot of that, it takes out a lot of the excitement of just what is going on. Like that threat level, just that, mystery there and stuff is what sort of made everything exciting here. So I think in season 2, based off of the way the finale ended anyways, and Madame Genet really wanting revenge, I think that it makes sense that in season 2, we're going to see even crazier variant walkers. I don't think it's going to necessarily be different variant walkers. I think it might be the same one, but I think they're going to be a lot more stronger, and a lot of the issues that we saw with them in episode 6 or the finale, I think will be fixed. And so, yeah, I want to talk about Carol's reaction to that and how I think she will actually play a pretty big role in the story here. And I also want to talk about like her versus Madame Genet, because I really feel like that can be a really epic matchup there. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. And if you haven't subscribed to the Empty Minds podcast yet, definitely go and do so. I will leave a link down below. Also, definitely go follow me on Twitch at Appetite for the Dead. I actually will be streaming the Walking Dead Destinies game that comes out on November 14th, I believe. So I will be streaming that. There's actually quite a bit of information there. I'll talk about it in my next video, but there's actually quite a bit of information with that game that I do want to get into, because there's actually some really incredible details with that. There's actually 150 different variants of storylines that you sort of choose. There's 3 ultimate endings, but there's like 150 variants sort of throughout, and there's not like 150 endings, but like at the end, some characters might be alive, some characters might be dead kind of thing, and so your ending might actually be overall different, right? So that variety I think is really incredible, and I think is what could make this game actually a really good game, a really good Walking Dead game. So I'm going to be streaming that a lot. We'll do a bunch of playthroughs and all of that. And yeah, I'm definitely very excited to see just sort of where that goes overall, because I think that that is something that could be very, very exciting. And if it does really well, they could do a sequel to that, right? And focus on seasons 5 to 8. So anyways, we'll talk about that later. Fear the Walking Dead is airing this Sunday. And I'll talk about my plans and stuff for Fear the Walking Dead at the end of this video. But I did want to let you guys know, in case, some of you did forget, the final 6 episodes, and there's only 6 more left. They begin this Sunday. So if you do want to check out how this show ends, I mean, even if you fell off years ago, I would still recommend to check it out, because it's ending everything here. I'm going to get into all that in a video later on today. But yeah, I'll talk about my plans for Fear at the end of this video. Let's talk about Carol here. So her return, obviously, very exciting. Very, very exciting. Everyone, honestly, there's a big story there waiting for her, right? I've been seeing some stuff online in terms of like, behind the scenes stuff and interviews and stuff on the set from, they're filming season 2 right now. And I am very excited to see just a lot of things. Daryl and Carol's first just interactions with each other is going to be a lot of fun, but her general reaction to the Walker variants is going to be something that is so exciting, because Daryl's reaction wasn't that exciting. Like, Daryl kind of reacted to it like it was, I guess Daryl reacted to it in the best way that Daryl could, right? So I don't want to say it wasn't that exciting. If you're actually looking at the scene, he does seem very shocked. Like, he's speechless. He seems scared. Like, he's staring at that variant. He's wondering what is happening here. I know the finale, it sort of plays out differently, because he just he gets ready to fight. Like, he's not really trying to feel any emotions. He pushes down that fear and he's just going to fight this walker, right? But like in episode 5 at the very end, he's staring at this variant walker and he's just like, he's really, really like, what is happening here? He's trying to understand like what's happening here, because it's something that, obviously for him, it could be really dangerous if that variant walker ended up being like, I don't know, way more intelligent than it was, right? And I guess that's the fear for the future. If these variants get really, really intelligent and they're really messing with walkers in this insane way, that could be honestly really, really terrifying here. But Daryl obviously takes out the variant walker. The variant walker almost takes out itself in a way. So like, I mentioned before, I love that aspect to it, because it's teasing something that does seem very terrifying. We can see its abilities here and there, but it's definitely not fully done yet. But the fact that they're experimenting with that, the fact that Madame Genet is like, we need to perfect this and we need to actually fix this because she was so embarrassed there when Daryl took it out. Oh, I'm so excited to see where this goes for season 2 and 3. And I can just imagine by the time we get to season 4 or something, 4 or 5, just how the variant walkers are going to look overall. Like, I really wonder if we'll look back at this scene here in season 1 and be like, yeah, that was really nothing overall. The way I see the scene playing out with Carol reacting to the variant walkers, I mean, obviously a lot of just the, I guess circumstances are really hard to predict. Like, is she going to be outside? Is she going to be, trapped in the same place as Daryl? Probably not. I think we can assume that that's not going to happen. But it's hard to sort of predict what's going to be happening next with that, because there's some stuff with Codrone and other characters, like what's happening next with them. So it's hard to predict the actual scene. But in terms of Carol's reaction, I do think she's going to be concerned. Daryl, I mentioned before, he doesn't really get concerned about a lot. He just sort of deals with the immediate threat. I can see Carol being like, what is this? And what's going on here? And trying to understand more about it. And I think that's why Carol versus Madame Genet is going to be very exciting and will be a thing, right? I mean, Carol versus Alpha was just amazing. I really love that whole dynamic. Like, Alpha obviously killing Henry and all that. There is that whole story there. But Carol and Madame Genet, I just think, Carol just has this thing where she will get to you, right? And we've seen it really throughout the entire series. The only time there was a villain where she didn't really, I guess, handle them in the way that she could have was probably with Negan, I would say, because obviously Carol and Negan just never had a scene for like ever, literally forever, which I think is just so ridiculous. But at the time, and I was criticizing the story back then, but at the time, Carol was going through a lot of stuff in season 7 and 8. And obviously there was a connection there with Morgan. I didn't like any of that. Like, I liked it for season 7. That was fine. But in season 8, they basically just sort of switched stories. And it was just like, that made no sense. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to get into my thoughts on that. But basically, I think it makes sense as to why Carol couldn't really deal with a lot of stuff back then. And a lot of it was just the story was just too messed up overall. And I just think that if they wrote it better, I think Carol, she could have got to Negan for sure. I think she was almost the perfect person to go to the sanctuary and then eventually get to Negan, right? Because Eugene was just too scared to do anything. I think Carol actually could have. That's a big strength of hers, right? And it's really been a thing with the character for a very long time. Well, actually, really starting at Terminus, right? Like, that's where, she got like this insane courage and this insane strength and just unbelievable confidence where it was like, yeah, you don't mess with Carol. Like, that was the moment. And I still remember when that happened, like when that rocket launcher went off or whatever and basically freed everybody there at Terminus. Like, I was so blown away by that. I was not expecting that. And ever since then, the character has just been so amazing. And even during the Whisper arc, with Alpha, it was just incredible. The stuff with the Commonwealth, really amazing. And I just think Carol versus Madame Genet, I am so excited for that. I think there is so much you can do here. And I think she honestly will take a huge interest in what is going on with the variant walkers. And, Daryl messed up a lot of the research on that boat in early season 1 or just before season 1 started kind of thing. I think Carol's going to do the same in season 2. And so I can't wait to see her reaction to that and just the story that follows there, because I do think it's going to play a really big role. Like, walker variants, I think in general will play a very big role, I think, in this show, because, again, Madame Genet is going to want to go after Laurent, right, at the nest. And so that's going to be a whole thing too. Like, the nest, is that going to be a place that could be destroyed at the end of season 2? Could you imagine? I could see them going there where they all sort of have to abandon that place. It is a lot like borrowing from other stuff, but my whole argument with that too is like, you really only have two options when it comes to stories like that. Like, are you not going to destroy the home base, or are you going to destroy the home base kind of thing? And I'm like, they've been choosing to not do that for a long time. Yes, we lost the hilltop, but the hilltop they could have rebuilt. They just sort of abandoned it, and Maggie's staying at this new place now, but they could have rebuilt that place. The kingdom, I guess, was just a place that, at that point, it really was kind of a lost cause because they lost a lot of people. Like, that, the kingdom makes sense that they lost that place. And I kind of like the story. Like, it wasn't destroyed or anything. It's just, they lost a lot of resources and stuff and just a lot of things just over time. Like, they just had to abandon it. And I really like that. So they all stayed at Alexandria and the hilltop, and now they have the Commonwealth. Again, that's why I still don't really like the idea that they sort of abandoned the hilltop and they're staying at the bricks now, just because I'm like, well, you have resources from the Commonwealth, unless Maggie is not accepting that. So that means that she gave up her home at the hilltop in order to stay here at the bricks. Like, I just don't really like that idea. So I don't know. We'll have to learn a lot more about just what happened there. Alexandria obviously is still going and stuff. And so that's what I mean. Like, they've basically kept their places that they've stayed in for a very long time. So I think losing a place like the Nest or whatever at the end of season 2 is I think it's fine. I mean, you don't have to do it right away. Maybe you save that for season 3 or something, but you could also do it differently where maybe it's because of the variant walkers. Like, the variant walkers just eventually attack this place and it just becomes like so like unlivable. Like, you have to sort of run away. It's like this really insane battle kind of thing. Because I do think, again, the variant walkers are going to be this show's endgame. And so I think we could get to a point with this show where those walkers do take over kind of thing. And those walkers might end up killing Madame Genet and the scientists and all those people. And so maybe we're just sort of left at the end where Daryl has to save Quadrone, or maybe he actually is on his side and they work together and they're just fighting the variant walkers kind of thing. And it becomes a bigger story, right? That's kind of where I see it going by the end. But obviously we'll have to wait and see. Again, Carol's reaction to all of this, I think, is something that is going to change the series quite a bit, and what she decides to do with it. If she chooses to ignore it all, I mean, that's a little disappointing in my opinion, but knowing Carol and her history, I don't think she's going to. I actually think she's going to really specifically go and try to deal with this, I think, because like Daryl doesn't really care that much. I mean, look, he's just leaving, right? So like Carol, I think, is going to be like, no, we got to fix this. Like, this is actually really messed up, right? So anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video. And again, like I was talking about my plans earlier for what I have just sort of planned for Fear the Walking Dead. I'll touch on this a little bit in my Fear the Walking Dead video as well. But what I will be doing is I'm going to be covering the show, obviously, every single episode. We're going to go all out. And I'm pretty much am going to be sort of doing it like the way I focused on it earlier this year. Though I probably will do more Fear the Walking Dead videos just because it's the end, right? And after this is over, I'm going to be done with Fear the Walking Dead. I'm not going to be doing Fear the Walking Dead videos anymore. So I might as well sort of go all out here and, yeah, cover a lot of that. And, again, I'm excited, to say goodbye to the Clark family and all that. Although I don't really think it's going to be a goodbye. I think it's just going to be, like, I do think there's going to be some spinoffs set up, but I'll talk about that in my next video anyways. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.